Hello and welcome to another Trades and Tutorials video. This is Jeff Bish, president of MarketGauge.com, and in this video we are going to take a look at why XLF, the financial spider ETF, may be an ETF that you want to focus on. If the market's going to go higher, this may actually lead the market higher. And this indicator down here is saying just that. But before we get to an explanation of all this, let me just make sure that if you're finding us on YouTube, that you subscribe to our channel. If you're finding us on Facebook, make sure you like us. In both cases, if you do that, you will be the first to know when we put out more free videos like this. And you can also find us on Twitter at Market Minute and at Market Gauge. And make sure that if this is not showing in HD, you use the little setting in the lower right hand corner to make everything a lot more clear. All right, so XLF, the financial ETF, has just crossed the 50-day moving average, which is this dark blue line, not at its 200-day moving average, which is where the overall market is. However, there's something that is incredibly interesting and potentially powerful here in the way the ETF is set up. Now, keep in mind that the Fed is releasing FOMC minutes later this week, so that could throw this particular ETF into a significant move up or down. However, based on this, I would say that if it moves down, even if it moves down and holds in this area, you're going to want to take a look at it if it starts to turn up after that head fake to the downside. So what are we looking at down here? Well, if you've been paying attention to our recent tutorials on price leadership and other indicators that enable you to see trends that most traders can't see, then you probably already know about the price leadership line. So I'm going to dig into the XLF and show you some more examples of stocks within it that you might want to keep an eye on. But before I do that, for those of you who don't have any idea what I'm talking about and you are interested in how you can learn more about this price leadership line, which essentially tells you which stocks, which ETFs are trending with a strength that is kind of selfishly all their own, and therefore will tend to outperform the market, even reverse before the market. And that's what I think we might be seeing with XLF here. There'll be a link at the bottom of this video that will take you to a free ebook and another free tutorial. And if you see this on time, there's even going to be some webinars this week about it, all free. So with that, for those of you who are already familiar and for those of you who are just learning, let's check out what I mean. So XLF, the reason that I'm focused on it right here is because when this the blue line comes over the red line, it's a bullish indication for the stock, or in this case the ETF. And you want to see the price action be bullish too, and you've got that with the XLF here in that it broke through the 50, held the 50. This magenta line is the 10-period moving average, and now it's potentially making a new leg up with some room to rally before it runs into that 200-day moving average. And all this is happening while the SPYs are at their 200-day moving average. Now, to demonstrate, how powerful this can be, let's just take a look at here, where you can see after the blue being above the red, it crosses under. Now the black line, without going into too much of a tutorial in this, is a longer term measure. So what you really want to see is the red over the black to be bullish. In this case, the red's under the black. So now you've got them all negative, and the market in the XLF sells off. But the whole market sold off there. So that's not really as convincing as if I were to show you something that was more representative of the power of this. So if we take a look at 2015, if you remember, 2015 was kind of a messy year, but for IBB, the drugs, when the IBBs, and you can see this was really in gear in price leadership, when price leadership was really in gear, IBB had some really nice moves. And when it was in gear and it pulled back to the 50 and then came back over the 10, in conjunction with the price leadership line confirming it, you had some really extraordinary moves. So this is the power of having this indicator. Again, turns over, comes back through the major moving average, and really nice run up. When it falls underneath it, you want to be careful so as to avoid stuff like this. Falls under again here to avoid stuff like this. And then to bring us to today, so as you can see, above it and everything in gear tends to lead to really nice trends. So XLF, as I pointed out, has turned, but IBB has not turned. So not every sector has turned higher on the price leadership line. So XLF is a perfect opportunity, and I'm doing this both to introduce some people to this idea, and also for those of you who have been following the tutorials, let's dig a little deeper into the ways that you can use this. Let's do that now. So I identify XLF as an industry group that's turning higher. One of the things that I will do when I see this is I'll simply go to Yahoo. It's one of the easiest ways to do it. There's plenty of other sources. And I'll look up XLF, and I'll look up holdings, and then I can see the top 10 holdings, right? And now I've got a list of stocks to figure out, to quickly figure out which of these might I want to be trading from the long side if I think that I've got this industry group tailwind. All right, now I think we could potentially be a little early, as I described in earlier in the video, early in the move, but nonetheless, I want to know which companies are looking good. Now with this indicator, it's really simple. I mean, if you've just stumbled on this video, you already know how to use it. Blue over the red by a significant amount, preferably the red also over the black, even better. And that's one you want to follow to the upside. So I'm just going to go through those top 10. You saw where I got them. Let's start with Berkshire Hathaway, BRK.B in my trade station. Right? And this one is looking great, right? Here's the 200-day moving average, which is where the SPYs are now. This thing's had a really strong trend. And if you look at the price leadership line, this thing actually turned around, started to turn around right in here, giving you plenty of time to wait for the price action to turn around and know that this break of the 50 was one that you would want to follow. And now with this type of price action, maybe it's a little extended here, but if this one pulls back, as I just said, if the XLF pulls back, this is one we're going to want to focus on, especially if the price leadership stays where it is. So put Berkshire Hathaway down as strong in the financial category and one to watch. Wells Fargo, all right? That one doesn't look so good, does it? Now on the price action up here, it doesn't really look that much different, but on the price leadership line, definitely is not saying that this thing is ready to turn higher. So that's not one we're going to focus on right now on the long side. JP Morgan, again, not one I want to focus on the long side. Bank of America. So this is how you can use this leadership line. So if you've seen some of the tutorials, this is an application of it. This one looks just like XLF, right? So now this is one I want to focus on if it starts to trade over this $14 swing here. And even if the market gets choppy and it looks like maybe it's down near the $13 range, you can buy it against that, assuming this is still here. And also in an upcoming webinar, I'll show you how to be even more precise than just the daily here. So you would know that you could pick it up at the 13 and price level and put a tight stop in. That's a little too much for this video, but again, I'll put links below this video if you're interested in more. Citibank, all right, now Citibank looks just like Bank of America, looks good. Now, the other thing that I like about Citibank, and this reminds me of what I forgot to tell you about XLF, is that if you look at the weekly on Citibank, this thing was pushed all the way down to levels not seen since 2012. Now, I'm not an advocate of buying something just because it's down. All right, but when it's down to these long-term potential support levels, and then on a daily basis, it's turning up, it becomes more interesting. Now, if we take a look at the XLF, this is another reason that it's interesting on this long-term basis. The green line now is a 200-week moving average, all the way down to 200-week. This has been a significant moving average in the past. So another reason to think that maybe XLF was pushed just a little too far and it's due for this bounce. So if we go back to the daily, we go back to Citibank, you can see Citibank, one that I would not have really been focused on if it weren't for picking up on doing exactly what I'm doing. All right, now I would like it to come back up over this swing before I get too excited, or if it pulls back, I'll look to make sure that the price leadership is still holding up, but definitely one to keep an eye on. US Bank, next one in the list, not one to focus on right now, right? Blue well under the red, no thank you. AIG, not yet. Goldman Sachs, not yet. See how quickly I can go through these? SPG, interesting. All right, not great, but keep an eye on it is how I would categorize it, especially if the market pulls back and this manages to hold up all right. It could find a situation where the price leadership line starts to turn up even before the price does. And finally, to round out the top 10, Chubb. Now, unfortunately, there's just not enough data for the price leadership line to calculate on this, but you can see Chubb, although a recent new issue here, or spin-off really, hitting new highs, and while it is a recent spin-off, one to keep an eye on just from that price action. So just to review, first thing I did was I actually stumbled on this looking at our scans for price leadership, found XLF that was an incredibly interesting position right here, not what I had expected to see. And when I looked at the weekly, I found out that it's actually, this 20 level was actually 200 weeks, so that was a great area to expect that it might hold support. Now the daily's turning up, and I went in to Yahoo, got the top 10 holdings, and identified the stocks in there that would be interesting to watch if I didn't want to trade just the ETF, which Berkshire was one of them, Citigroup was one of them, and Bank America was one of them, and Simon, we said, kind of. All right, so now I've got a list of 4 financials that could have the group as its kind of tailwind behind it, and definitely keep an eye on those, especially with the FOMC meeting notes coming out on Wednesday. Hope that helps, and like I said, if you're just finding us, make sure you check out the links below. You can get more information on this indicator, like us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also go to marketgauge.com/tutorials where you'll find lots of free videos just like this.